Vader continues pacing, cape swishing, boots clanking, emotional stability circling the drain. He stops in front of the dinner table for the 15th time, stares at the silverware, and nods like the fate of the galaxy hinges on fork placement. Which, to him, it absolutely does. He lifts a wine glass, turns it in his glove, practices the reveal again. I am your... He freezes. Too dramatic. Starts over. I am your... Nope. Too soft. Luke, I am... Immediately shakes his head so hard the helmet squeaks because that's not the line, and he can feel Obi-Wan rolling over in the Force like a disappointed Force ghost dad. He adjusts the chair angles, straightens the plates, realigns the napkins like they're Sith artifacts, and the entire time, he's humming with this unhinged anticipation, like he's planning the world's worst surprise party for someone who didn't ask for one, didn't want one, and wasn't told they were invited. Stormtroopers peek in again, see him hovering over a bowl of space potatoes like he's scanning them for midichlorians, and silently back out. Vader pauses at the head of the table, hands behind his back, helmet aimed at the door Luke will eventually walk through. Mechanical, slow, steadying himself for the big moment. It's not fear, it's a man, broken, armored, and catastrophically earnest, trying to host dinner for a kid he's never actually met. And he's praying to every dark force in the galaxy that he doesn't screw it up. Vader didn't kidnap Han and Leia. Not in his mind. No, please come sit at my awkward family dinner so Luke won't run away screaming when I tell him he's my offspring. Sort of situation. He kept telling officers, bring them here, comfortably. And somehow that translated into carbon-freezing armed escorts, and screams echoing down the polished hallways like Cloud City was hosting a haunted house. But Vader? He thinks this is all fine. Normal. Acceptable. He watches Han being dragged in, kicking, swearing, absolutely promising violence, and Vader's internal monologue is basically, good. Good. A spirited dinner guest. Luke appreciates passion. Leia gets shoved into a chair at the table, still cursing him in 3 languages, and Vader nods like a proud maitre d'. Her rage radiates off her like a thermal detonator. Fantastic energy for the appetizer course. And Lando, poor Lando, gets positioned like emotional garnish. He's sweating through his cape, trembling, mouthing apologies, and Vader just pats him on the shoulder, lightly, almost tenderly, and says, "You will sit here. Smile." Conversational balance is essential. Stormtroopers stand off to the side like extremely stressed waitstaff who are absolutely not trained for this. One actually raises his hand to ask if this is still an Imperial operation or a hostage-themed dinner theater event, but he drops it immediately when Vader turns his helmet an inch in his direction. Leia finally snaps. What is this? Some kind of sick joke? And Vader, fully sincere, answers, "This is a meal." He motions at the table. Candles, utensils, a centerpiece that looks suspiciously like a repurposed tracking beacon. A meal, Leia Organa. A civil setting, a calm environment. For Luke. Leia stares at him like she's trying to calculate if he hit his head on a bulkhead. Han scoffs so hard he nearly dislocates something. And Vader, misreading all of this, actually sounds hopeful when he adds, he will, appreciate the effort. He stands there for a moment, soaking in the ambiance like a proud host at a dinner party where everyone hates him, but he's too emotionally damaged to notice. Outside, the sound of distant blaster fire echoes through Cloud City as stormtroopers forcefully invite the last of the guests. Inside, Vader takes one long, mechanical breath and whispers to himself, he's going to love this. The kitchen wasn't built for this. It was meant for normal things. Stirring soup, roasting space chickens, quietly disappointing Lando with under-seasoned entrees. Not for the culinary meltdown of a Sith Lord having an emotional episode. Vader storms in like the world's angriest cooking show contestant. He grabs pans too hard. The sous chefs scatter like pigeons dodging a speeder. He announces, "I will prepare the meal," which is the exact moment every sentient being in the room starts preparing their wills. Nobody argues. Of course they don't. A man loudly wheezing while gripping a ladle like it's a lightsaber is not a man you correct about cooking etiquette. He tries to taste the soup, forgetting he's wearing a helmet, so he just dunks the ladle directly into the mouthgrill and spills broth all over his chest plate. His breathing gurgles. He wipes at the mess like that'll fix anything. A nearby chef makes a noise, just a tiny one, and Vader force chokes him for judging my technique. He lifts vegetables with the Force and tries slicing them mid-air. Half of them fall. One gets launched into a ventilation fan. Another ricochets, hits a stormtrooper in the neck, and knocks him out cold. A droid attempts to assist by offering seasoning. Vader smacks it aside because real flavor comes from the dark side. He grabs a giant pot, levitates it, tries to stir with telekinesis. The spoon spins too fast, creates a broth vortex, and flings boiling liquid onto 3 officers who immediately pretend it's fine because they don't want to be the next garnish. Everyone in the kitchen silently prepares to meet whatever gods they worship, but instead of killing anyone, he whispers, "This is fine. I can salvage this." He absolutely cannot salvage this. By the time he's done, the kitchen is a war crime. Smoke everywhere, charred plates, broken droids, 3 unconscious stormtroopers, 1 live vegetable cowering behind a cutting board, and Vader stands in the center of it, arms crossed, cape smoky, helmet splattered with soup. Convinced he has created something that will impress my son. He lifts the tray with the confidence of a man who has no idea what flavor is, and marches out, proud, hopeful, and catastrophically wrong. Dinner is almost ready. The doors hiss open. Han Solo is shoved into a room that absolutely should not exist in the middle of an Imperial trap. A dining hall. A real one. Tablecloth. Candles. Silverware placed with military precision. Leia is pushed in behind him, already calculating 17 ways to weaponize cutlery. Han mutters, "Okay, so we're being murdered. Formally." And then, Vader steps forward like a maitre d' whose entire personality is fog machines and dramatic timing. He lifts a hand toward the perfectly arranged table and delivers the line with the confidence of a man who has rehearsed it in his helmet for hours. "We would be honored if you would join us." Han stares at him. Leia stares harder. And somewhere deep inside the Force, a small voice whispers, "He's serious." Han fires immediately because that's what Han does. Vader blocks the bolts without flinching, sighs through the respirator, a weary, disappointed dad sigh, and gestures them toward the seats. Stormtroopers shove Han into his chair. Leia sits willingly, but purely out of spite. And then they notice the corner, because sitting there, legs crossed, helmet on, armor polished, is Boba Fett, silent, still, serene, plucking a Mandalorian Beskar lute with quiet, mournful dignity. He plays a tune older than Mandalore itself, a low, resonant melody that feels like it belongs around a campfire, not in a dining room hosted by the galaxy's most dramatic cyborg. Han whispers, "Is he serenading us?" Leia doesn't blink. "I think he's the entertainment." Fett never looks up. He just keeps playing. Fingers precise, rhythm steady, the picture of a professional who accepted this gig and refuses to acknowledge the absurdity. Lando slips in from a side door, eyes full of regret and apology. "I'm so sorry," he whispers to them. Vader stands at the head of the table, cape arranged just so, studying Han and Leia like they're floral centerpieces he hasn't decided how to arrange yet. Because that's what they are to him. Not prisoners, not bargaining chips. Ambience. Background texture for the most important dinner of his life. Han mutters, "This is the weirdest hostage situation I've ever been in." Leia folds her napkin with militant precision. "We're decor, Han." Across the room, Boba Fett shifts slightly and transitions into another Mandalorian tune, still not acknowledging anyone, still refusing to break the mood. Vader inhales deeply, as if centering himself. Everything is ready. The table, the hostages, the atmosphere music. Now all he needs is Luke. Dinner is prepared. The door slides open with a soft mechanical sigh. Luke Skywalker steps in, lightsaber raised, nerves sharp, ready for danger, and instead finds a fully set dining room. Silver platters. Candles. Leia and Han at the table like unwilling participants in an Imperial etiquette demonstration. And Boba Fett in the corner, gently strumming a lute. Luke's brain short-circuits on impact. What is this? Before anyone can answer, Vader rises from the head of the table, cape flowing, posture immaculate, emotional stability extremely questionable. "Welcome, Luke," he intones, in a voice that wants to be stern but comes out suspiciously close to thrilled. Luke hesitates, still holding his saber. Vader makes a small, elegant gesture toward the empty chair beside him. "Join us." And Luke would have absolutely refused on instinct, except there is a crunching sound. A smug, pleased, slightly buttery crunch. Luke glances over. Han is eating a dinner roll. Not just eating it, enjoying it. Like deeply, like spiritually. Leia elbows him hard. "What are you doing?" Han whispers back. "They're warm, Leia. Warm. You don't disrespect warm bread." Leia glares with the power of 1,000 rebellions. He quietly takes another bite anyway. Vader notices. He watches Han chew with a kind of tentative, confused pride, like a Sith Lord trying to interpret a Yelp review. Han leans toward Luke, voice low. "Kid, look, I know this is weird, but the food's actually good." Vader straightens slightly. This is the closest thing to a compliment he has received in 15 years. Leia hisses, Han, stop enjoying the hostage dinner. Han points discreetly at a platter. Is that roast Nuna? With seasoning? He seasoned it, Leia. The Empire doesn't season anything. Vader tries, and fails, not to sound hopeful. I took great care with the preparation. Han nods politely, like he's rating an intergalactic cooking show. Yeah, I can tell. Flaky crust, good texture. You could use a little more salt, but... Leia kicks him under the table so hard the cutlery rattles. Boba Fett strums a tense chord. Vader snaps back toward Luke, trying to salvage the moment. I prepared this for you, he says, voice getting tighter around the edges. For all of you. Luke blinks, unsure how to respond to a Sith Lord hosting a dinner party. I'm not here for food, he says finally. Another crunchy bite comes from Han before Leia clamps a hand over his mouth. Vader's shoulders sink. A mechanical exhale escapes. The sound of a man who spent the afternoon perfecting a glaze only to have his son reject it. Oh, he says softly. Then, gathering himself, then you will join me. For the truth. Fett plays a single dramatic note. Perfectly timed. Deeply problematic. The candles flicker. The Force tightens. The dinner, warm, hopeful, disastrously earnest, begins dissolving into the confrontation Vader has been rehearsing for decades. The meal is ending. The reveal is starting. And Han quietly reaches for another roll. The room holds still. Vader stands firm at the head of the table, cape angled to project maximum authority. Luke stands rigid with his lightsaber, posture screaming, "This is a trap," soul screaming, "What am I looking at?" and stomach quietly whispering those rolls do smell good. Han is on his third roll. Leia has stopped kicking him because she realized it was pointless. Boba Fett has shifted seamlessly into a slow, dramatic ballad, something with too much emotional weight for the moment, but absolutely perfect for background tension. Vader begins. Luke, he says, lowering his voice to something meant to sound paternal, but landing somewhere between dramatic lecturer and guy who practiced this in the mirror. We meet at last. Luke stiffens. Han mutters with his mouth full. Meet at last? Kid, he's been waiting all day for you. Leia elbows him again. Vader ignores them, perhaps by choice, perhaps out of necessity, and gestures vaguely at the untouched meal. I arranged this setting so that we could speak, calmly, civilly, as family. Han chokes on his roll so hard Fett almost hits a wrong note. Luke's voice cracks a bit. Family? You tried to kill me. Vader tilts his helmet, the universal Sith gesture for your taking this out of context. I merely encouraged your development. Leia jumps in, incredulous. You threw furniture at him. Vader's respirator actually hesitates, a tiny mechanical stutter of defensiveness. Necessary discipline. Han whispers, Kid, this is sounding less like a family reunion and more like my childhood. Leia kicks him under the table again. Vader presses forward, determined to deliver his speech in the precise emotional order he rehearsed. You have been misled by the Jedi. They did not tell you the truth. Luke grips the saber tighter. What truth? Behind him, Fett plucks a single ominous string. Han whispers, This music is way too on the nose. Vader steps closer. Slow, deliberate, dramatic enough to make the dim room feel like a stage. The truth that I have waited years to share, that I have sought you out to reveal. Luke's breath catches. Even Leia feels the shift in the Force. Han, however, is just reaching for the gravy. Luke, Vader says, voice low, trembling with excitement he refuses to acknowledge. There is something you must understand. And he stops, because Luke has turned slightly and is eyeing the food. Just a flicker, just long enough for Vader to register. He is hungry. This becomes the single most distracting thing Vader has ever experienced. He spent hours on this meal, burned 3 pots, nearly force-choked a sous chef droid for poor plating, and his son, his actual son, is looking at the roast Nuna with the faintest hint of interest. Vader falters. Luke, do you wish to... I mean, if you are hungry, we could... Well, the rolls are... Han raises a roll triumphantly. They're amazing. Leia slams her forehead into her palm. Luke snaps. I don't want dinner. I want answers. Vader straightens abruptly. Yes. Answers. That... He composes himself, runs through the mental script again, and lifts a gloved finger dramatically. Luke, the truth is that... Fett hits another musical swell. Vader inhales. Luke, I am... The lights flicker like the room itself can't handle the tension. Leia's eyes widen. Han drops his roll. Even Fett looks up. Your foot... A stormtrooper barges in through the side door. My lord, we have a sit... Vader force throws him back out of the room without looking. The door slams shut. Silence. The helmet turns back to Luke with all the fury of a man interrupted mid-sentence during the most important line of his life. Where were we? Oh, yes. Luke, I am your father. And there it is. Luke recoils. Leia gasps. Han drops his fourth roll. Fett accidentally plucks a cheerful chord and quickly corrects it. Vader waits, breath heavy, braced, hopeful, terrified, because the dinner is ruined, the table setting forgotten, the candles flickering, and now the truth hangs between them like a lightsaber waiting to ignite. Everything has changed, and nothing is prepared. The air in the dining hall stops moving. Luke freezes where he stands, saber humming in his grip. Leia leans forward, eyes wide. Han pauses mid-spoonful, broth dripping back into the bowl because even he has limits. Vader lets the words roll out, heavy, deliberate, aching. I am your father. Luke's breath catches. No, that's not true. That's... His voice cracks. It's not possible! There's a tiny clink as Han's spoon finally falls back into his soup bowl. Sheesh, kid, Han mutters quietly. You're telling me this guy's your... Leia snaps a glare at him so sharp it could cut metal. Han shuts up. For 3 seconds. Then he leans toward her again, whispering urgently, Leia, you seriously need to try this soup before we die. It's incredible. Leia grabs his wrist under the table. Han, shut up. What? I cope with fear through soup, sweetheart. Vader pretends not to hear any of this, not out of restraint, but because all his attention is pinned on Luke. He steps forward, slowly, each movement weighted with something far more dangerous than rage. Hope. Search your feelings, he says softly. You know it to be true. Luke shakes his head, trembling. My father was a good man. A long exhale shudders through the respirator. I was once, Vader says, and you. You are a part of me, Luke. You always have been. Leia's face crumples, fury and pity warring behind her eyes. Han slurps loudly, realizes the timing is terrible, and wipes his mouth. Vader turns his helmet slightly, an unmistakable, I will deal with you later gesture, then refocuses on his son. Luke, he continues, this setting, was meant to show you that we can still meet as family. He gestures at the table. The candles, the carefully arranged plates, the roast Nuna he seasoned by hand like a man trying very hard not to burn feelings he doesn't understand. Luke's voice trembles. You kidnapped my friends! Vader barely hesitates. All families have challenges. Leia nearly spits her drink across the table. Luke steps back, confusion spiraling into panic. You're lying! Obi-Wan would have told me. Vader's head lowers an inch. The closest a helmet can come to sorrow. He did, in his own way, from a certain point of view. Han mutters, this dinner keeps getting worse. Then takes another spoonful of soup because stress demands sustenance. Luke's jaw tightens. He raises the saber. I'll never join you. Something in Vader cracks, not loudly, but deeply. He straightens, reaching out a gloved hand. Luke, wait. But Luke is already moving for the door. Han stands, grabs one more roll because survival instincts are weird, and runs after him. Leia follows, eyes blazing. And Vader is left alone in the soft flicker of the candles, staring at the empty chairs. The soup grows cold. The room grows silent. He lowers his hand. He didn't even sit down, he says quietly, almost to himself. The respirator inhales. The lights dim. Dinner is over. Now comes the storm. If you enjoyed this emotionally questionable detour, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this unfolding disaster. And if you want to help the channel grow even more, we've officially launched memberships. Tiers, perks, behind-the-scenes chaos, early access, all the usual nonsense, but with more Jedi trauma per minute. Thanks again for all the support. I'll see you in the next timeline.